so cycle 63. This is going to be strength day A. We are starting off with a 12-minute AMRAP, so that means as many rounds as possible. I always cue them to cycle through this at a pace and with a weight that is challenging but achievable. Achievable meaning that you are not sacrificing quality of the movement for quantity, okay? Every exercise in this block is gonna be 6 to 8 reps. We're starting them off with a sumo deadlift. So for the sumo deadlift, the wider stance lends itself to a heavier bell, okay? So especially with your members who you know, challenging them to go a little heavier, maybe not this heavy, maybe heavier, maybe lighter, something heavier for them, okay? And that 6 to 8 rep spread for reps, if they're going really, really heavy, that's gonna be your person that's probably hitting 6 reps, okay? If they wanna go sort of that moderate heavy, that might be your 8 rep range, okay? So that's another way you can help them decide what reps to hit for which movement, okay? So we're starting with that sumo deadlift. So for your sumo deadlift, what makes a sumo deadlift is your feet are wider than hip width, and typically when you go that wide, your toes are also gonna start to turn out, okay? So this is a sumo deadlift, this is a sumo deadlift, this is a sumo deadlift, okay? So this could vary member to member based off of their anatomy, their experience, etc. Okay? All the other components of the deadlift still apply. You're still going to find that core pack, hinge their hips back, break that handle, driving elbow pits forward, sending their shoulders down their spine. So for me, this feels a little too wide, okay? So all those same components, breaking the belt, shoulders back, big inhale, exhale, drive tall, okay? Send the hips back, exhale, drive tall. Making sure that we are keeping this a sumo deadlift, so you're trying to emphasize the hip hinge, not squat, okay? Because you are wider, your sumo deadlift is going to look a little bit squattier than your typical deadlift. So keep that in mind, but just make sure that you're still getting more of a hip hinge versus a squat. So that's gonna be in relation to their trunk, still coming here with a wide stance, not coming up and down, okay? So once they are finished with that sumo deadlift, we're gonna double it up with another leg exercise. So you're gonna do a cyclist squat. So a cyclist squat means that we are heels elevated and a slightly more narrow stance. So that means we are at our widest hip width, okay? You can have them come close, but just know that the closer they come together, the harder it will be to get depth, okay? So you're gonna have them safely bring a belt into that goblet position, using that 2-hand clean. Elevate the heels. I'm using a 25-pound plate because at least Fishtown, weirdly the 25-pound plate has a slightly higher ridge on it than the 45 does. So I have heels elevated, my feet are hip width apart or a little bit narrower than that. Big inhale, holding through the bottom, exhale, come tall, okay? Hold through the bottom with the breath, exhale, come tall, okay? Some people might be able to get a little bit deeper than this because they may have some ankle restriction. Because the heels are elevated, you're gonna end up getting a more quad dominant squat. You're gonna put more load into the knees. So if your members are complaining of knee pain, take them off of the plate and you can keep them in a narrow stance, or you can give them an alternate movement that's still going to work more of that squat pattern, okay? From the cyclist squat, we're gonna go into a bent over row. We just did some single arm bent over rows in the last cycle. So for this cycle, we're gonna go double bell. I would prefer double kettlebell over double dumbbell because the kettlebells are gonna help with that line of pull a little bit more. But if members are opting for dumbbells, you can coach them through that. They just might need to go a little bit heavier to get the same kind of intensity with that 6 to 8 rep range, right? So for this one, you're going to have them stand inside both of their kettlebells, hinging those hips back so they're keeping a nice, strong, supported back. They might squat down a little bit to pick the bells off the ground, and then a double kettlebell row, okay? The biggest thing we don't want to see is those elbows should not be driving past the back, because when they drive past the back, you're going to stress and stretch that anterior part of the shoulder or the bicep tendon. It does not feel good over time. So we don't want to see the elbows going back. The other thing I don't want to see, which I saw a lot from different members at different studios this past cycle with the single arm row, is we don't want them to come here. Okay, so if they're rowing here, they're in this sort of weird mini squat, a lot of pressure on the low back. Pushing the hips back into a hinge is going to put more load into the glutes and the hamstrings and be back protective. This is not. So make sure they're finding that hinge. If they feel uncomfortable with that, you can always regress them down to a single bell, but with a brace on that opposite hand, because that's going to force them to stabilize into the core, and you can pick a surface that's low enough that they'll have that nice flat back. Okay? The other thing we don't want to see is a chicken neck. Right? We don't want them to throw their head forward as they row. So try to make sure that spine is nice and stable, okay? Your last exercise for the opening work set on strength day A is gonna be a bicep curl. So we're gonna keep those elbow pits slightly outward. Coming up, they might come out at a little bit of like a 45-degree angle. That's gonna help hit the full length of that bicep long head. Finding that 6 to 8 reps. Okay, we did have some variations of bicep curls in the past cycle, so if people are getting a little bored with this, or they want a different challenge without going up in weight, you can have them challenge their balance with the bicep curl by going a stagger stance, right? So if they're aiming for 6 to 8 reps, they would go 3 to 4 here, and then switch 3 to 4 here. Another progression off of that is you can have them go single leg. Okay, so we're still getting that bicep curl. We're challenging those legs a little bit more. So it's gonna give them something extra from just the bicep curl. So just some options there. And that is work set 1 on day A. Second work set on day A, we're gonna be working on the 45 seconds. We'll have 4 rounds through. 4 rounds through, and we're gonna have 4 blocks. Okay, so that first block is on the 45 seconds. We're gonna do 4 high pulls into 1 snatch on the left side. Whatever time you have left is rest. Then we go same thing on the right side. The one thing I want to caution you a little bit with for the high pull is, even though it is called a high pull, try to convince members that that doesn't mean they need to be pulling that hard, right? We don't want them to drive way back here. Because if you think about that snatch progression, right? The high pull is really to get them to achieve this positioning, okay? So they might get a little bit more of a pull, but make sure that elbow is not driving way back here, because we either want them here or we want them in that sort of tiger position, okay, for 4. So the way that I personally cue that is you're really trying to drive that float higher, right? The elbows staying bent, you're driving that float higher, or they can do a little bit of a pull, right? To pull it up, okay? So you're gonna go on the 45 second, 4 high pulls, 1 snatch. So after that high pull, they really should just be able to punch through, and they're at the top, okay? So from the side, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, punch through. Okay, so depending on your comfort level, or your member's comfort level, excuse me, you can have them snatch down, and then they're resting for the remainder of the time. Or if now we're on my right side, 1, 2, 3, 4, snatch through, snatch down, dropping with the elbow. So that's snatch down, we're here, dropping from the elbow, back to the ground, okay? We do not want to do this with a dumbbell if at all possible. The reason is the height of the kettlebell off of the floor, okay? The height is gonna let me keep this motion in a hinge because we're elevated. If I'm doing a dumbbell, I'm coming down here. This is a squat. This is a hinge. This is a squat, okay? So if you have somebody who does not want to snatch with a kettlebell, use a different variation for them. You can have them work something like a high pull, or just have them work on some cleans, or try to convince them to use a kettlebell. Figure out why they don't want to, right? A lot of times people say it's because this slams on the back of my wrist. That means they're not keeping their elbow in tight enough, okay? If you have any questions about that, if you have things that you're trying to work through as a coach on how to best cue somebody to get them to feel more confident with a kettlebell, reach out to any of us on the leads team because we can help you with that, because we really want to help empower our members to use the kettlebell, especially with a snatch, because using a dumbbell here is going to change the movement pattern completely, okay? Sorry, I'll get off of my soapbox. Your last exercise in work set 2 for strength day A is going to be an overhead reverse lunge. Again, we're working 4 for that first movement, 1 for the second movement, which is going to be a knee drive, okay? So you can have your members get into that overhead position with a snatch or a clean and press, right? So first side's going to be left side, finding that nice strong position, whether we're snatching or cleaning and pressing overhead. And then you're going to go reverse lunge, making sure they're keeping that rib cage packed down so they're nice and stacked. Reverse lunge, that was 3. Reverse lunge for 4. Right into that knee drive, okay? If they need to put the foot down and then drive, they can do that. The advanced variation is gonna be right from that reverse lunge into that knee drive, okay? Same thing from the previous, they can rack down and take it out from the clean, or they can snatch down, okay? You'll do left side on the 45-second, whatever time you have left is rest. Next is gonna be right side. I'm gonna show you again just from a different angle so you have it. Right, so this time I'm going to clean, nice strong press or push press for anybody who wants that option. Making sure my rib cage is packed. I'm gonna speed this up a little bit. So we're gonna say that was rep 3, that's rep 4. Right into my knee drive, staying nice and stacked and tall. Foot comes down, bringing that bell safely back to the ground, okay? You're gonna finish day A with your coach's choice. So you can pick whatever you want for those 2 movements. Personally, if you're looking for some ideas on strength day A, my choice is typically with a workout like this, grabbing a core movement and something that's a little cardio, right? So I'm gonna have them probably do a little quick feet, right? Whether that's a 1, 2, 3 Heisman, or you can have them do hops, right? You could go single, double, single. Maybe not for your clients that have any issues with their knees or hopping, right? A little cardio, and then a static hold, like a plank, high plank, low plank, side plank. So that's how I like to work my coach's choice. If you know exactly how you want to do coach's choice, you didn't have to listen to all that. Sorry about it. But just trying to give you guys some other options, some other things to put in your toolbox, because I'm always looking at what we've done in the workout, what movement groups did we maybe do less of or not tackle enough, and that's what I try to give them in their coach's choice. But this is also your time. Give them some flair. Whatever you are as a coach, in terms of like, if you want to do some Pilates movements, if you're really into another style of strength training, movement, isometric, body weight, whatever it is, throw that. It's your time to shine here with that little extra piece. I'm getting a little wordy now. Sorry.